Which Elon Musk do you like more? One who supports Ukraine or one who supports Russia? Oh my God. They're getting crushed at all, like almost, I think they're being crushed basically on 2/3 of the front line. They're being crushed in the Donbass. They're being crushed in Kherson. The only area we're not seeing them getting crushed, I think, is Bakhmut. And Zaporozhye is basically like a frozen line with just artillery going off. So it'd be strange for them to now just start ceding to Russian demands while they have the upper hand, especially something like the recognition of Crimea as part of Russia. If he just shut the fuck up, he would be perfect. Well, Elon Musk decided to not do that and opened his mouth again, this time proposing his own version of a Ukrainian-Russian peace process. He wanted his own Abraham Accords. Okay, so let me be for real with you guys. Elon Musk is not my guy. He's never been my guy. I'm not a big fan of the Musker. I never found him very appealing, but I also don't know a tremendous amount about the man. So I can't jump to too many conclusions. What I do know is he did call that one rescue diver in Asia a pedophile that one time. And that was very bad. But he also, and I do want to remind you guys of this because I helped pay for some of these satellites to be delivered. He did help Ukraine with Starlink. That was pretty good. And I did see that it had an impact in Ukraine. I can tell you that it's had an impact in Ukraine. I've seen that impact firsthand. As I've talked about before, I actually have some footage that I was able to get of Starlink being delivered to the front line around the Donbass. I helped fund the transportation, morally corrupt, bankrupt man, the transportation of that Starlink. So for those of you who don't know, Starlink basically beams internet directly to forces in areas where they wouldn't usually have internet. It's like a personal like internet satellite that people can like hook up their phones to this device so they can get internet and communicate with commanders and stuff like that. So it's pretty good. Anyway, so my opinion of Elon Musk has mostly been positive on the issue of Ukraine. That's not to say he hasn't said things about Ukraine that I disagree with, but it's just that early on, that's what I've seen on the ground here. I've seen people somewhat appreciative of Elon's Starlink. But then they would hear him speak about Ukraine, and most people would want him to kind of quiet down. I remember I actually talked to a Ukrainian friend in Kharkiv about this, and she said, I like what Elon does for Ukraine. I don't like what he says about Ukraine. Something about that. Like, if he just shut the fuck up, he would be perfect. Well, Elon Musk decided to not do that and opened his mouth again, this time proposing his own version of a Ukrainian-Russian peace process. He wanted his own Abraham Accords that he's proposing, his solution to the war in Ukraine, which, you know, the majority of people opposed, but I still want to talk about exactly what he said here. So, got a WAPO sub? What's this? U.S. quietly paying millions to send Starlink terminals to Ukraine, contrary to SpaceX claims. After Russia launched its invasion, Ukrainian officials pleaded for Elon Musk, SpaceX to dispatch their Starlink terminals to the region to boost internet access. Since then, the company has cast the action in part as a charitable gesture. I'm proud they're able to provide the terminals to folk in Ukraine, the president said in a public event later last month. I don't think the U.S. has given us any money to give terminals to Ukraine, but according to documents obtained by Technology 202, the U.S. federal government is in fact paying millions of dollars for a significant portion of the equipment for the transportation and costs to get to Ukraine. Ooh, well, this is still a good thing that they did. It's just not as charitable as people have made it out to be. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate you bringing that to my attention. So I didn't give him too much credit. Credit's still somewhat due, but not to give him too much credit. So thank the old US of A, as usual. Anyway, let's read his actual peace plan now. It isn't charitable at all. He's just doing business. I said it's not as charitable. It's not charitable, but it's still good to... Look, let me put it this way. The Germans did not send tanks to Ukraine. If they did sell them tanks, even if it was business, I would still be happy with them. Okay? So it's still good, but it's not as charitable as many people have made it out to be. Anyway, now let's get to the Elon Musk poll and the Elon Musk proposal on how he wants to bring peace between Ukraine and Russia. Obviously, before making a post like this, I'm sure he thought it out quite a bit, since, you know, it's a very divisive issue. It's a very important issue, an issue where hundreds of thousands of people are dying to decide the fate of. So let's read. Ukraine-Russia peace. Redo elections of annexed regions under UN supervision. Russia leaves if that is the will of the people. Now, I want to talk about this, but first I want to read the second part, because this is very interesting. Crimea, formerly part of Russia, as it has been since 1783. So what's interesting about this is, I assume he is saying Ukraine has to redo these elections under UN supervision. Russia and Ukraine have to redo these elections. The reason being that the elections are not democratic. They're an obvious sham. They're a sham for multiple reasons. They're a sham because they didn't include displaced people who have fled from the war. They're a sham because they didn't include people in the Donetsk Oblast and the Zaporozhye Oblast who are not under Russian occupation. It's a sham because they did it with very little prep and didn't let many people know about it. They did it specifically because they got hammered in Kharkiv, and that's why they only had 3 days to prepare, and not many people participated. A very small amount of the population ended up participating. Many of those who did participate were basically intimidated by soldiers to participate. And of course, and most obviously, it's very rigged. And there have been many examples of people literally on camera asking, what am I supposed to click so I could leave? What am I supposed to check so I could leave? As they stuff it with fake ballots for the camera. So that's why I assume he's asking to redo these elections under UN supervision. But then he says, Crimea, we don't redo the elections. We don't redo the referendum that Russia did in 2014. That just becomes part of Russia. There's no UN supervised election there because Russia used the same process they used in all these other areas where they did sham referendums. They did the same thing in Crimea. They did it by the barrel of a gun, but they get away with that. So they get away with doing the rigged elections in Ukraine and specifically Crimea. They get away with that. We formally recognize that sham, but we have to respect Russian wishes for democracy in the rest of the territory that Russia's occupying. Okay. Then water supply to Crimea is assured, and Ukraine also remains neutral. Then Elon Musk continues on to say, this is highly likely to be the outcome in the end, just a question of how many die before then. Okay. Oof, how do I say this? So first off, I think there are multiple parts of this that are not likely to be the outcome in the end, and I don't even think is really a possibility. I think the first thing that's not a possibility is the redo of the elections. If the Ukrainians know that the Russians rigged it in Crimea, they rigged it in Donetsk, they rigged it in Luhansk, they rigged it in Zaporozhye, and they rigged it in Kherson, and they obviously did it, and they tried to favor their outcome very obviously when they conducted the vote, because they just needed a rubber stamp for the annexation. Why would the Ukrainians, after being screwed over in these 5 separate Ukrainian oblasts, Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporozhye, and Kherson, why would they now say, oh, okay, let's hold another vote, this time under UN supervision, when their army can just take it back? Not to mention, holding these types of referendum in war-kind conditions is extremely difficult to get a fair outcome. So this would have to be after the cessation of hostilities and firing. This would have to be something that would be done after it's all over. But if Ukraine is in a position to take back the oblast anyway, they should. And we know the Russians don't recognize democratic elections. That's why they had to rig these in the first place. So why could we expect the Russians to respect the outcome of one of these democratic elections?
A curd is a curd.
Mover and Shaker Hamza Prime number $5. Thank you for all your reporting.
Hey, thank you for the $5, and I appreciate it. I don't think the Ukrainian government, after being screwed over 5 separate times when it comes to these rigged elections, need to now be nice and play nice and have another election, but this time under UN supervision. Would it be nice? Would it be cool if they could do that? Maybe, but it's also not even really a possibility. There has been no deal negotiated that would include this, or that has included it, or probably would include this. Because neither side wants it to be decided that way. They want to decide it, with arms, because neither side expects the other to respect the outcome of this type of election, especially the Russians, who have done this already 5 times. So it would be nice. I just don't think it's realistic, and I don't think the Ukrainians are in a cooperative move after getting screwed over 5 separate times in these types of elections. As for Crimea formally, also they have the upper hand right now. Why would they secede to that? Or why would they secede to recognizing Crimea formally as a part of Russia, as the Russian army is getting crushed in Lyman? They're getting crushed in Kherson. They're getting crushed at all, almost, I think they're being crushed basically on 2/3 of the front line. They're being crushed in the Donbass. They're being crushed in Kherson. The only area we're not seeing them getting crushed, I think, is Bakhmut. And Zaporozhye is basically like a frozen line with just artillery going off. So it'd be strange for them to now just start ceding to Russian demands while they have the upper hand, especially something like the recognition of Crimea as part of Russia. And it's strange to see Elon Musk say that it was Khrushchev's mistake. What is he even referencing that? Basically, is he saying that Crimea is not rightfully part of Ukraine? That is rightfully Russian territory, even after it was illegally annexed? And they did another sham election to try to annex it into Russia? If it had so much support to be part of Russia, why was it illegally annexed? Why was it done at the barrel of a gun? And why did they not have a democratic election? Why did they rig that? Then its water supply to Crimea is assured. So they not only do they recognize Crimea, but basically they normalize relations with the Russian state enough to assist with them when it comes to civilian infrastructure. And then Ukraine guarantees that it's remaining neutral, so it cannot build a system of alliances that would protect them in a future war, a future invasion that the Russians might well again do after they lick their wounds. So what does this accomplish? Well, for one thing, it entertains the idea that that there's actually a large population within Russian occupied territory that want to be part of Russia, and that they could actually win a democratic election, and that we should entertain these elections after the Russians have rigged them on 5 separate occasions, and we can actually trust them to not screw with the process. That's the first thing. Second thing is that the Ukrainians give them permanently Crimea, even though it was a rigged election and illegally annexed. That they then resupply, they supply water to Crimea, and then do not build a security structure. They do not get part of a security alliance, some security system that could protect them from being invaded again, which could possibly do nothing but kick the can down the road for a future Russian invasion, this time after they've guaranteed no NATO membership. So they've already seceded to Russian demands, therefore, in a way, also encouraging Russia to do this type of thing again in the future, rewarding them for their behavior. Look, maybe if he was just proposing one of these things, then I could maybe see where he's coming from. But all these things together, man, while Ukraine has the upper hand, while Ukraine is pushing in Kherson, while Ukraine is pushing in the Donbass, while Russia is panicking and mobilizing, it's just so strange. Probably did a lot for attention, which... I'm sorry, you gotta repeat that. Elon Musk's brain dude, this is news how exactly? Well, this is news because of how others reacted to it. Specifically, this guy who's an ambassador for Ukraine. Let me read what he said. The only outcome is that now no Ukrainian will ever buy your fucking Tesla crap, so good luck to you. Fuck off is my very diplomatic reply to you at Elon Musk. Jesus Christ, man. Do I got like a button for this? I don't know if I've got a button for this, man. I don't got no like based thing. I guess Dark Brandon is the closest I could press right now if I really wanted to. But Jesus, man. And to be clear, he is an ambassador from Ukraine. But I mean, the problem is that this basically rewards Russia's invasion of Ukraine when Russia's in the worst position possible, which could just encourage their behavior in the future to do something like this again. Not only that, but it does it while not guaranteeing Ukraine a system of alliances that would protect them from an invasion next time. Them guaranteeing neutrality, in fact, does the exact opposite, since it can't bury itself in the protection of an alliance. In a way, it is appeasement. Somebody just said it's basically appeasement. In a way, I don't understand why he would propose such a peace plan while the Ukrainians have the leverage.
Mover and Shaker Hamza Prime number $5.
Thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. Very based. So that was a reaction he got from the ambassador. That wasn't the only reaction he got. Zelensky, actually, and I'll link this in chat in case any of you guys want to vote. He released a poll.
Morally corrupt,
bankrupt man. Aldberg S. Thank you for the Prime Gaming. He released a tweet. He released a poll. Bad Uwu, thanks for the tier 1. He released a poll asking two questions with two options. Which Elon Musk do you like more? One who supports Ukraine or one who supports Russia? Oh my God. Of course, Zelensky is trouncing Elon with the poll right now. We all see what this is in reference to. This is basically him saying that, hey, we like it when you send a Starlink. We don't like it when you try to sign away our territory or legitimize or legitimize their claim on Crimea. My goodness. By the way, can I say that this is also a more legitimate vote and way to do a democracy than what was done in Russian occupied territory very recently? And we're going to talk about that later on how we found more complications with the voting process. And I wanted to point it out. But yeah, it's pretty weird to see Zelensky directly respond to this like that. My goodness. I saw that some people were saying like, oh, that shows the gratitude of Ukraine. As if, like, again, Elon Musk was this great charitable force who delivered Starlink to the Ukrainian people out of the goodness of his heart, when it was the United States that financed the process. Not saying it was bad. It was good that he did that, but it wasn't like a massive charity case. Not to mention, like, yeah, I mean, if Zelensky right now is dealing with the invasion of his country, he's probably going to be a little mad if somebody who was at one point talking about buying massive social media platforms like Twitter, wealthiest man on the planet, starts entertaining the idea that maybe Zelensky should give up Crimea, rightful Ukrainian territory, where there have been activists, Tatar activists, shot in the back of the head and dumped in rivers for opposing the Russian government. If we saw what we've seen in Izium, in Bucha, there is a possibility that that same brutality has been done in Crimea. Now, obviously, there is a difference between wartime and peacetime, and Crimea has been largely unscathed by the war until very recently, but that doesn't mean that that same brutality is impossible. And we do know that activists have disappeared and later ended up dead on the sidewalk or in a river. So that is a legitimate concern. And I don't think that the Ukrainian government or the Ukrainian people want to sign away the people of Crimea for that forever, that's just going to be their existence now. Their existence is just going to be, well, hopefully we don't get executed by the government for opposing them or pursuing our culture here. Because there have been people in Crimea arrested just for listening for Ukrainian music. They'll listen to a Ukrainian tune or the Ukrainian national anthem, and they'll be arrested for, oh, that's treasonous behavior. Hey, Lonerbox, thank you so much for the raid of 98. I appreciate that. Look at all you guys coming in here. Look at all those raiders. Look at all those raiders sliding in. Did you know I've invited Lonerbox to come on stream with me and watch the Hunter Biden movie? And he said no. He said no. I don't want to watch the Hunter Biden movie with a dirty Irishman like yourself. I was like, whoa, Loner. Whoa. What do you mean? What? Why would you say that? I was like, So yeah, my opinion of him has kind of shrunk a little bit. He's a little bit toxic, but I still think he's an okay guy. Elon needs to stay in his fucking lane a little bit. A little bit. A little bit. I mean, it seems Zelensky thinks so. But Ukrainian government officials were not the only ones to react to it. And I think this is the biggest condemnation of what Elon Musk said. Dmitry Medvedev, former president of the Russian Federation and widely seen as one of Putin's right-hand man, the same man who said that immoral, morally corrupt, bankrupt man, and on. Thank you for giving a tier 1 sub to Elon Musk. The same man who said that Ukraine is an artificial state and Ukraineness is a disease of the mind. It's like Disney villain levels of evil there, right? Response to Elon Musk saying, kudos to Elon Musk. However, the shadowy agent has lost the cover, deserves a new rank fast. His next tweet will run like Ukraine is an artificial state, anticipating. If you're being given props by the Russian government, because you're like, maybe we should just give them this territory. Maybe we hold another referendum and see if all this territory can be given away in Kherson and all this. I mean, maybe another, and you're giving them air for their nonsense. It's not that surprising that these Russian government officials are going to react positively to Elon Musk. I know a lot of people looked at this and they were shocked to see them actually start complimenting Musk or giving him any credibility or any thumbs up. I would feel disgusted if a Russian government official ever thought something I did was good in favor of their cause, considering what their cause is. But I want to remind you guys that Tucker Carlson is a regular man of the hour on Russian state TV, as they'll take his segments, play them, subtitle them in Russian, dub them over, and then talk about how smart he is. And he's a reasonable American who knows what he's talking about when it comes to these Ukrainians and the degeneracy of the West. So it isn't that surprising, considering that Russia loves a useful idiot. They love a useful idiot. Also, I do want to say that his statements have not been received well by stockbrokers. I think it has it down at least 10%, 10 to 15%. The stock has plummeted since he made his comments about Ukraine. I doubt the marketing team is having a field day right now. I mean, a 10 to 15% drop in stock is pretty painful. I mean, that is a lot of money to lose over you trying to sell out the Ukrainian people for Twitter points or to seem like a diplomat. That's before the tweet? No, that wasn't before the tweet. No. How do you know it's before the tweet? It's because of Tesla's quarterly report? It is? No, it was because of the tweet. Fuck off. Tesla's year's dip after third quarter production and deliveries report? Nope. It was Zelensky. Zelensky did it. I don't care what you guys tell me, okay? I don't care what you guys tell me. Who in chat believes that it was the quarterly report? Post 1. Who in chat believes that it was because he got destroyed by Zelensky? Post 2, okay? That is a lot of ones. Okay, that is a significant amount of ones. Okay, so all the ones. Okay, you stand right there. Okay, stand in that dark hallway right there. Just stand there. Okay, stand there. Don't move. Don't move. Okay, we're good. We're good. We're good. No worries. We lost half a chat there, but we'll survive. We'll survive. All is well. The loyalists remain. When an arm is weak and starts to rot, you must cull it. You must cut it off for the rest of the body to survive. I'm sure that look, okay, it probably was mostly the stock stuff and the quarterly report, but I don't think his back and forth with the president of Ukraine and the Ukrainian ambassador helped the stock at Tesla recover